Hey guys, I am Anna and I'm here representing One Thrive, and I have with me Siraya from Stay at Home Zookeeper. If you're just tuning in, she just did, we just played her presentation about resetting the week. Siraya, it's always so awesome to have you and to hear all your tips for myself personally.
Well, thank you. It's always nice when you share something and people care.
Yeah, no, for real. So I love the idea of a weekly reset. I actually never really thought about doing that until I had my own One Thrive board and was like, deleting the week and being like, oh, this is what we're doing or this is what we're eating. And then I've learned so many tips from people like you about how to be more efficient with it. So one of your big things, and we can get into any of the things you want to talk about, is the color coding and how important that is for your family. And I didn't think about it, but you mentioned like, some of our kids don't read yet. So like that's a great way to get them involved.
Yes, color coding has been huge in our house. My oldest is nonverbal autistic, and so he is also not reading. And we started the color coding for him, like the blue cup is yours, no other cup is yours. Still a work in progress, but it has spiraled to color coding everything in their lives to help him. And then, yeah, the value of the pre literacy I've had. I mean, my son, my youngest, he's 4.5 now. Um, but as early, I want to say, as 18 months, he knew the green was his and was able to find his own cup, find his own plate, that kind of thing. And then it's gone up to if he sees green on the calendar, he knows that that day he has something. And right now it's either gym or library. And so he knows he has a special on the center because he can see his green. So color coding has been huge in the pre literacy, but also it saves me time. Like I don't have to write like his first initial B. Like I don't have to write B has gym. I just write gym in green and everybody in the house knows it.
Yeah, that's been a great thing for us too. Like, cause now they have so many activities that they each have a color. And I'm like, volleyball 345 or whatever, and it's just in blue. So that's Izzy. And like everyone knows that it's Izzy.
Yeah.
Do you have a color that's like if there's a family event or
Yeah, I do a lot of yellow.
okay.
Just because it was the brightest color on the black, so I just use a lot of yellow. And I got the tropical color pack, and one I'm the purple in the tropical pack, and my son's the green in there, so there was a yellow left over in there, so had
Yeah.
lots of yellow. So,
That
um,
one's a good one. I like that one. It's bright.
and I do, like, if there's an event for the whole family or just multiple people, I'll write the event in any fun color, but then I'll color a circle under it of the kids who have that. So I have 2 kids in one school, and then I have another in a different school, so they don't always have, like, the same dress up days. So if it says, like, Funky Friday last week, it had a blue dot and a pink dot, so then those 2 kids had Funky Friday.
Oh, that's a good idea. I would like I was kind of thinking of the best way to do that because sometimes it's like two of the kids will have an event, so not
Yeah,
the whole family. Because I had like a family color, but then I'm like, but it's only the two younger ones, the
yeah.
dot.
So that's yeah, I do a dot for that. So like we have 3 of 5 of us have a haircut tomorrow. So it says hair in silver, and then it's just the 3 color dots of who
And
has
if anybody has questions, you can just drop them as a comment on this live stream, and Soraya will be happy to answer those for you.
that.
Um, I always notice when we sort of do these lives, some people feel a sense of relief that they're like, "Oh my god, I'm like hyper organized," and I always feel like people are like, "You're too much," and it makes them feel better, like to see you and be like, "Oh my god, like she's the same."
Yeah.
But do you have tips for people that see this and do feel like, "Oh my god, I'm overwhelmed," like if they're just starting out to do it, like what's like the most basic thing you would be like if you are planning resetting your week, definitely reset, these 3 things, for example?
I think for me, the biggest thing to make it seem obtainable is to not have to go everywhere looking for the information. So I use the center to display our weekly reset, but it's also all the storage for everything. So I don't have to run all over the house when I go to do this. I literally take the files out of the same center. I take the baby wipes that I keep in the center, and I keep the markers I keep in the center, and then I just sit down and do it. And I think that's a big part of it is like having your supplies easy grab. You're not going to dread it because it's not going to be this huge ordeal. It's literally pull, do, put back. And
Yeah.
that's the biggest thing for me is like if it's easy, you're going to do it. If it's a ton of work, you're not it's you're going to be afraid
Yeah.
of it.
Yeah, one thing for me that, has been helpful is sort of what you're saying, like, I have ADHD, so if I'm, like, out of sight, out of mind,
Mhm.
so it's like, first of all, for me, putting it somewhere where I see it like all the time is really helpful. And I set up like all of my kids like their homework center like right in front of it.
Yep.
So it's like when they sit down to do homework by it, everything's there. And then when they have like all that extra paperwork, I like put it on the files. And when they're like, "Mom, when was this again?" It's like all on the center.
Yep.
So for me, just otherwise, I would like if I didn't see it every day, like it's in our kitchen. Like I know some people like to, not have this on display because
Right.
they feel like it's and that totally makes sense. And some people have it like in their mud room or their laundry room or like in an office or somewhere put away. Ours is like in our breakfast
Yep.
nook. Our breakfast nook is like where our kids do their homework. And that's where, I also put like our mail. I put everything there. They're like even math flashcards. I just hang
Yep.
them on the hooks.
Yeah, at the end of that presentation, I shared how I do like I have those file folders in their color. So I pull the file folders out and I check everything. And let's say like my son has a field trip that week. I take the permission slip out of that file and I put it on a clip on the center because it's happening that week. And then
Oh,
I know
that's
what we
smart.
have to wear. I know what time it is. I know all the information for that. And then when it's done, I recycle it. So then it's not like hanging out forever and you don't have this file that's just getting fatter. But you also, when it's that field trip week, you know exactly everything you need, but it also doesn't need to hang out for 2 weeks beforehand. You put it in the file, and
That's
when
a great idea. I should start because I always put it in their file and then I kind of sometimes, unless like you said, out of sight, we said out of sight, out of mind. So it's good to like go through that file and like put the stuff there. But I just find it to be such a great place to put like, for example, things that you're like, we log into a online platform called Seesaw, and
Mhm.
sometimes I like for some reason get logged in and have to use a QR code again. It's just like
Yep,
in my son's file. It's like because otherwise I'd be like, where am I going to put that? Or like at the beginning of the year, each teacher gave us like a booklet. It's like, where
yep.
is it? Oh, everything is like in
All
their
their
files.
logins and all the yeah,
This, which might sound like obvious to a lot of people, but I think after doing this for as long as I have, I know it's actually not obvious to a lot of
right.
people. It's really simple, but it's like people don't think about it.
And, like,
Um,
my oldest, like I said, he's nonverbal autistic, and he has some medical complexities as well. So we have 4 to 5 appointments out of town that we have to go to for him, and I keep all of the, post-visit summaries and things like that in his file so that it's got the address of that appointment and the contact information, and if you have a problem with this prescription, call this number because it's a different specialist for every area, so
yeah.
that's all in there, but then again, we have that appointment coming out, I pull out the last form so that I have everything clipped up, so then when it's time to go, we can just grab it, go, and then recycle it when we're done. Um, and it just it's I just find that if you have it easy, if it's easy, you're gonna do it. And as soon as it gets complex and overwhelming, it's gonna get pushed to the wayside.
Yeah, I agree, and, I think for me and, the important thing is, like, if I don't have that, like, um, 1 hour on Sunday when I reset everything, like, kinda, like, force myself to do it and have gotten in the habit of doing it, I would just, like, let it go.
Mhm.
So for me, like, clearing out all the old papers that we don't need anymore, going through, like, our mail I actually ended up, with one of the skinny boards, actually buying, like, the file holders, and then I would
Yep.
just have one for each kid.
Yeah.
Because each kid has so much paperwork, so I have, like, a folder of, like, their, like, birth certificates and, like, that kinda stuff, and then, like, medical stuff that happens, and then, like, sometimes they bring home papers and they're not, like, quite ready to throw it away, like, some drawing they did, and I have a folder for, like, their miscellaneous
Yep.
stuff like that. And that's been really helpful because at first I had one folder for each kid, but each kid had so many categories, each
Mhm.
then I had to, like, look through it to find what I was actually looking for.
Yeah, that's one thing also I push is like the system that works for me isn't not necessarily going to work for
Yeah,
you. And when I do these presentations and everything, it's not, hey, do it my way. It's more of a here's where I do. How can you branch off of that to make it a fit for you? So the file works perfectly fine for us on
yeah,
the center because the memory box stuff goes in a different memory box
yeah.
location and things like that. So I don't want anyone to come on here and think they have to replicate this, and then when it doesn't work for them, they're failing. It's just that that system didn't work for you. You need to find a system that works for you.
Yeah, and as kids grow, like, needs change as well, like, my kids, when they were younger, they didn't have like a million activities after
Mhm.
school, and I didn't necessarily like keep track of everything. But now there's multiple kids have multiple activities, so now we like have to write it or we'll forget. Like even if we do it every week, it's like you forget.
Yeah.
And there's those things that change every week. Like our school, every other Wednesday does early dismissal.
Okay.
So then I can't just like have the week up. I have to like look at it again like every week to make sure.
Well, and our school doesn't do like specials like for gym class. It's not every Wednesday or everything like that because of half days and no school days. And they didn't want the kids like who have Friday gym to always miss their gym. So they do a 6-day sliding schedule. So
Oh gosh.
so it's like Monday this week is day 1, and on 1 he has gym. But on 2 her library books are due, and on 4 his library books are due, and we have to check that every week. So every week the first thing I do in the center is what school day are we on? And
Yeah.
then okay, 1 means this special for you, 2 means this special for you, and that all gets in their color. And then 9 times out of 10 we can get the library books to school on time for
Yeah.
because they
Our
have
our our kids for their library books, they have like these little hanging bags that they go in. I don't know if you guys have those. I hang those on the
yep,
center, so I like remember that that's where they go.
yeah,
But yeah, same for us, it's school lunches. Like, we order them hot lunch, but there's a lot they don't like, so I don't do it every
yeah,
day. And I have definitely forgotten before, like, oh
mhm,
shoot, and they call me from school, they don't have hot lunch. So now I write it on the paper calendar
yeah.
ahead of time.
Yeah, every week we write HC, in blue or pink. Those are only 2 kids taking hot lunch right now. And that I mean, meals seems to be one of the biggest things that people want that like it's where do you need to be and what are we going to eat? Like those are the 2 things I feel like a mom needs to keep track of or a parent, a family needs
Yeah,
to keep track of. So, what do we need to pack a lunch or are you going to get it when you get there and what's for dinner and just having that view, that quick view. I mean, at night when we look, we have to see what we have to pack and in the morning I look what I have to thaw. And it's kind of like the balance there and it helps our whole week go better and yes, it's a chunk of time on Sunday, and like you said, it gets dreaded. Like, I don't really wanna reset the center every single week, but
yeah.
also all week, I'm so grateful I reset the center on Sunday so we know what we're eating.
Yeah, this is a great question from Candace, who, and it was sort of, we sort of just touched on this and how we both do it kind of differently, but she wants to know what's the best way to keep all your documents organized.
Yeah. Um, and I've talked to Candace before. She has IEPs like I do too, so there's extra paperwork with all the special needs and stuff too. Um, in I think it was our back to school summit, we did a drop zones
Hmm.
presentation. So my kids have a drop zone when they first walk in the door, and that is where they put all of their papers. And then I take all of their papers, and then I have my own drop zones. I have an IEP binder has its own file folder in a different location. It's in a cabinet for me. Um, it's like a file shelf, those like stacking file shelves. So I have a whole file shelf for anything that goes in IEP, and then I have a whole file shelf for things that I want to keep for the kids for future years. We call it the memory box shelf because they get one memory box file a year. And then we have anything that has appointments, field trips, anything like that, that immediately goes in the center file. So if it's got to go on the calendar, it goes in the center file. If it's going to be a memory or something I just need to keep for my records, those kind of go more out of sight, just so they're not taking up room in the high sight line places. But it is a mess, and I think the biggest thing for me is the color coding again. The file of things that are coming up that need to go in the center are all in the same color as their marker. So each week I pull that file. Anything pink got going on, no, put pink away. If anything that has green going on, then I put the green, write it in green, hang the field trip form, put the green folder away. And for me, that's the immediate stuff. And then putting, like I said, having a space for that IEP documents, the school documents, I want to keep them, but I don't need to see them all the time. I need to have them on the record. And I
Hmm.
go, I want to say like quarterly. And I take that file and I hole punch it and put it in a binder and have it for my records, but not have it in my visual clutter space either. Cause that feels overwhelming to me is when there's just,
That's how I get to. I honestly would rather throw it all in the drawer, just organize and just see it on top because it just like
Mhm.
drives
Yeah.
me nuts. Um, to use a file box or a cabinet for your or those folders.
So in I'll just bring you with me. It's not gonna be pretty, but I'll bring you with me and I'll show you quick. Um, So for my weekly center, that's here. So here's the files for the things that are coming up, the color coded field trips, appointments, things like that. And then I'm gonna have to. It's not gonna be pretty because I know my napkins were just purchased in front of it too. Um, but in here, I have a file, and there's a shelf here for this is all memory box stuff. This is all IEP stuff, and then this is all mail stuff. And this 2-inch binder is his IEP binder. So I go through this, hole punch it, and put it in his IEP binder. So I have access to it, but it's out of sight and not giving me that visual clutter at the same time.
Yeah.
And then, as you see, I stack my napkins and everything in front of it, so I have access to it, but it's not there.
I had a question that a lot of people, like a lot of moms especially, bring up as a concern, that they're like, is this just going to be like one more thing for that I have to deal with? As we know, like whether you write it on the calendar or not, we're probably the ones dealing with all the scheduling and all that stuff anyway. But I just love that one video. I always think of that video with your family's all involved, even your husband, who seems to be like a really good sport about it. What does your husband think about the system, and like how did you like get him involved? And was he
So
like
that was my Mother's Day video last year, where all mom wants is for to not be responsible for everything. And it was I literally was like, "Hey hon, what's the kids having for lunch?" I'm like, "Check the center." And the kids are like, "Do I have a field trip?" I'm like, "Check the center." And honestly, that is the and now since that video, we literally quote that video. So my daughter just last week was like, "Am I hot lunch tomorrow?" "Yeah, I know. Check the center," because that was the quote we did. And so it's habit for my kids. I won't answer them if they are capable of understanding it.
Yeah,
I mean, like I said, my pre-literacy ones, I get that they might need to, or I say, come over to the center. Let's go look if you have a green L on for library today, or, things like that. I try to include them in reading the center because my brain can't do it all. And so, because they have the tools and the ability, if they have the ability to read it, that's where you go. And my husband really likes it because I do upstairs getting kids in the ready in the morning and he does downstairs. So I am getting everybody's teeth brushed, beds made, get downstairs, get dressed. And we come down and he has, if you have a cold lunch, it's sitting out by your backpack. If you have library books, he has the bag sitting out. So you need to fill it. And we work in tandem that way. So we like it because it's not, no one person has to hold it. And then I'm not going crazy
yeah.
trying to hold it all.
And yeah, it is a great life skill for them to have. And actually, my 10-year-old has the Charlie, which is like their college type board.
Mhm.
And she loves it now, and she like does her own, like she likes that it's like her own. It has her activities without like her brother and sister's activities, and pictures of her friends and stuff, and she really does that. But like my little one likes to put, I have like the magnets where you put every day of the week. She like loves to like put that and like start the calendar over. And as they get older, they do like more stuff with it. Like sometimes Izzy, my 10-year-old, will be like, "Oh, can I write like all the stuff for this week?" And she'll take everyone's calendars and write them.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think it's a great skill to teach them, especially because they're skills that don't come naturally to me at all. So this for me has been a great tool to be like, as someone who is sort of a scatterbrain with ADHD as I am, that was always a concern I've had. Like, oh my God, I'm a parent. How am I going to be organized? How am I going to teach organization to my kids? And for me, it has been like really, really helpful.
And I was teaching 4K, and you have 24 4-year-old just all, where's my folder? How do I do this? And I'm like, I'm teaching you guys how to sufficiently function in
Yeah.
this classroom because I can't. And then at home, I was like, I'm going to teach my kids how to do it so they don't need to do it to their teacher.
Yeah.
So,
That's very considerate.
and I mean, even down to my kids learn how to dress themselves like snow clothes and stuff as soon as possible. We're Wisconsin. We have snow clothes a lot of the year. And 18 months they have to put on their own coat, obviously with guidance until they're independent. But a lot of that it's like you guys need to do it yourself because when you go to school, the teacher will help you, but she can't help you constantly and 24 of you. So if you can't do it, then you're also going to have to learn the patience till they can support you. And so that's something I definitely work on at home. And that again goes back to the color coding for us. So my kids' snow gear is all in their same color. So their green hat, the green mittens, and the green coat, I can throw on a pile and he knows that's his. And when he goes to school, he knows he's looking for a green hat, green mittens. Even if the peer next to him has green, he knows,
It's
narrow it down to two.
together, yeah.
And so, again, that color coding for us has been great. I have people come to me, they're like, I have 7 kids. I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't know how to help you with that many colors. You
Yeah.
try. I'm like, I don't know. Do you start moving to patterns, like anything with stripes on it? I don't know. But
Um, yes, whoever, if you like came in a little late or didn't have time, we like totally understand that everyone can like jump
absolutely.
in right at this time. These will continue to be up on YouTube and also in the Facebook group. They'll be available for replay. Soraya is really good about hopping back in. So if you do have questions, she might have, I don't want to speak for her, but she might be able to
Yes,
answer
yes.
those. Do you want to tell us a little bit about the freebie that you're going to be sharing with everyone?
Yes. So I at the end of the presentation and of my reel that I posted today, I talk about having a planner which takes everything from the center, which is like the family command center, and I put it into a planner. And that's more of like, I have one job cleaning a day, but what does that actually look like? Like, yes, Wednesdays are bathrooms, but what do you have to do in the bathroom this white week? And so then I narrow it down to me, like that's my going to work mode in a planner. So I have a planner bundle as my freebie, and it's going to be like picking a job, cleaning job a day. There's like a cleaning schedule. There is a planner of like tracking your water intake, breaking it down by hour, and a couple other ways that you can take everything that's on that command center and do it to this is what my day looks like. Like I said, that's a ref. The command center is reset that every week, and then it is like the big broad picture, and then the planner narrows it down to, okay, so it says we have hair at this time, but I need to be there at 12:30, and then I will, when I go from there, I'll go to this, and then we'll go from that to that. That's on me. That's like my job for the day as a stay-at-home mom. That's me going to work. That's the same as if my husband's going to work, is writing down what he's actually doing that day. That's more personal. So I find that planner helps me break down the big, smaller, bite-sized pieces. And so I have that whole planner bundle as the freebie.
So after we hop off of here, I will share her link to that with the code. So you can grab that. And also, if you are signed up for the summit, you will get an email with that information as well tonight.
Mhm.
Sorry, thank you so much for your time. As always, you want to tell everyone where they can find you?
Yes. Basically on TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram, it's all Stay at Home Zookeeper. I was able to get the same username all the way across. Then I do have a blog, stayatHomeZookeeper.blog, that you can find us at. Today's Instagram, I think I got it all across all. I think I managed to upload across all platforms today. It will have a today's video. Is my Monday mom method, and Monday's mom method is doing one job chunk a day, and today's was the Sunday reset. So you can find more specifically on the weekly reset today, and obviously refer back to it, but I know it's up there. And then so if you're looking around for like socially around most, it's Instagram stories I'm on most to have like that one-on-one interaction and things like that.
Candace, I see you're still being waiting to be accepted into the group. I will make sure afterwards as well. It's actually the same group from the Back to School Summit. So if you are still in that one, you should be in it. But otherwise, I'll check to see if there's any pending. I didn't notice any pending notifications, but I'll check it in. I'll check in on that. Sorry, I thank you so much for your time, and we'll talk soon.
Sounds good. Thank you guys.